This little collar didn't come with the water pump. It's supposed to. Didn't come with it. I bought another one, and it didn't come with it either. So I had to go to the dealer and had to buy this thing. It cost me $15. All right, so put some Seal Glide on your O-rings, rub it on there. And remember, this is gonna have to go in there. It's gotta go in there like this. It has to go into the oil cooler, and at the same time, push this against the block and get your dowel pins in the holes and get a bolt started. So have your bolt ready. So when you get it up in there, you can put the bolt in so it'll hold it in place. Okay, this is where I'm at right at the moment. I got my little collar stuck in there. I got my belt on. Now all you just gotta do is lift it out a little bit and bring it on over to the left and get my dowels in. Okay, got all your water pump bolts snugged up. Now you need to torque them to 84 inch-pounds, okay? And then remove this off your back of your, from your back of your pump. This covers up the little fans over by the belt. So now you can put your belt cover on, put them on. You got the two, a little bit longer one, about 1 inch long, and a little 3/8 inch long one. Snug those up, okay? Next you want to do is find this hose and replace the O-ring on the end here that comes with your seal kit, with your pump. All right, and then put a little bit of lube in here on this part of the rubber and on here on part of the plastic of the hose to help installing, okay? And then you want to install it. You know, it goes right here, in there, on there, and on that one. Okay, you got it on here, and you got it on there all the way. Line it up with this, push it in there, get one hand here and one hand over here, push it and wiggle it back and forth. Make sure you don't pinch the O-ring and don't be pushing it out. Okay, you can even pull it back out and look at it, make sure it's in there right, and pop it back in. And down below goes a bolt. And over here goes another bolt. They're exactly the same. Remember, these dividers, took them out, you're gonna clean them. Did you clean them? Okay, they only go in one way. Make sure you put them back in there. Clip this wire harness into this coolant tube. Get your intake ready. Inspect your intake, go underneath and look and see how many connectors are underneath the bottom. I only see one. Remember, I had you disconnect this, but you didn't need to. So bolt that back up, and your injector harness goes to it. So then you got this one here you got to plug in from underneath. Don't forget. And then you got these little retainers that go on the injectors. I think they're like a dirt seal, basically. Make sure you stick them into the head like that. So all I'm gonna do is put some Seal Glide on them and push them into the heads. Okay. Okay, my intake gasket's on. Got a little bit of Seal Glide on my injectors. I put a little bit of Seal Glide on my intake on the head surface, just a very light film of it. I plugged this sensor in by the water pump. Hopefully that's the right idea. And now I'm gonna have to place the intake in there and get an eyeball on where all the connectors go. Okay, I had to take that harness, I pushed it all down here, and we'll have to figure that out. All right, so now I got the intake in there. Make sure you line up the studs through the little tubes and push on this high pressure line, get it down below the connector. And once you get it all lined up, it slides right in there, okay? So now I'm gonna start a couple bolts just to hold it in place. And then I'm gonna work on the wire harness. Okay, I know pretty much where they all go. All right, you got this one here. It's got 3 terminals in it. And it's right next to the throttle body. That goes to the fuel rail. Remember the one I said was underneath on the bottom? Goes directly to the fuel rail, which is, see that little thing, the hex end there for a wrench or a socket? That's a sensor, and it goes right there on that piece, okay? It's a 3-wire plug, all right? Get that one in there, you gotta shove it around this heater hose and get it in there. Okay, you got it plugged in. This one goes to the throttle body. Goes right there. Don't push it in all the way yet, just so you get an idea. Make sure everything lines up properly. This one goes to the top, right there. This one's gonna go here. Okay. Looks like a big old nest right there. And then you got your oil pressure switch right here. Goes over to there. And then you got another connector right there. We gotta find that one. That one goes to the intake runner. So now I gotta go find that one. Okay, here it is. It was stuck underneath the intake. That's a good thing I just had the bolts ran down there. So now I gotta plug that one in. All right, it was a little tricky, so we'll plug it in. Okay, push all your connectors back on, throttle body up on top, and that one. Oil pressure switch, intake sensor. You got an evap vacuum solenoid right here. Plug that one in. Remember the green one that came from way over yonder underneath? Put it up into the bracket and plug it in right here. Push it into the bracket and plug that one in. Plug your fuel injector rails in right here. I don't know if there's anything else you removed. Down below, you got a crank sensor down there. And that's about it. You got a vacuum line right here that goes to that solenoid. Put that back in. And put it in all your little brackets. Okay, and now we can tighten up our high pressure line there. You got that one that goes there, and now you got a coolant pipe that goes down here, and now you just got to work on your coolant lines and another vacuum line right here, and then your fuel supply line right here, which these are them right here. There, and that goes there, and then you got a bolt there, and you got a bolt and a screw there, a screw here and a screw here for that coolant bracket. All right, for that coolant line, I'm pretty sure it was the long ones, because one goes here and one goes there. All right, got too busy with all the stinking connectors. Now it's time to put all the bolts in my intake manifold and my couple nuts. All right, back to the intake manifold bolts. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 nuts. 1, 2. You want to torque them to 10 foot-pounds, okay? All right. Had you remove this so you can get to the bolt, so make sure you put your screw back into that one. And then we'll put our high pressure line on, our fuel line with the clamp, and our fuel line with the clamp. And then next is coolant hoses. Put your clips in, okay? And this is the lower one. And you gotta plug that in also. Make sure your O-rings are in there, make sure they're clean. They give us new ones with the pump. I don't know if I'm gonna trust it. Don't forget to put that screw in that bracket because that holds the lower hose. Okay, and put the lower hose on there. Goes onto the lower part of the water pump. Connect your connector on the lower hose and line up your notches and push it on there till you hear it clip, and then give it a good pull on it a couple times, see if it comes off. And actually go up to the water pump one and make sure you push it on there and you hear it clip in also. For the upper one, you got 2 different size clips. Make sure you clip them in like that. And this is the small one over here. Okay. Clip it in that way. All right. Okay. Radiator hoses are clipped on. I heard them click. I pulled on, then they come off. Make sure you put this one on next. And don't forget about that piece with that little temp sensor inside of it that goes on that hose. And that one takes a clip also. Put the sensor in this end first and push this end on second. Make sure it's aligned up perfectly, because in this one it has a little indentation for a tit for that end of that sensor to go inside of. So if you don't get it inside that hole in here, you're never gonna get it on there all the way. So once you got it correctly on there, you can be able to push this in there and you'll be able to see around the sides of these slits that it's open. So then you can push the clip in. All right? If you can't push the clip in easily, then stop. Take it apart and make sure you didn't break anything, and make sure you be careful. And look at that inside there, get the idea of what I'm talking about the hole, okay? Next is the intake tube from the intercooler. Intercooler, throttle body. Make sure you put the clip back in on the intercooler. Make sure you put the clip in properly, okay? All right, get it all the way up to the throttle body. Don't have to be on, just get it underneath. And you gotta twist it to get it up in there, because you got 2 of those with the bolts on them that go into the side of the block. There's one here and there's one above that other hose. So now you can push that hose on and get it on and plug the sensor in. Also, it's in between those 2 bolts. Okay, this one's on the lower. So I'm gonna go do the throttle body, and then I can line up my bolts and tighten them up. All right, got the throttle body clamped tight. That was a 7mm, and there's my bolt. You see it? And you gotta line it up into the block for the hole for it. So I gotta get my socket on there and get it ready. I'm gonna put the socket on there with an air ratchet, and I'm gonna pick up with my left hand and pick up on the tube, and then use the ratchet with my right hand. Okay, got the bottom one. This is that temp valve that goes in that hose. I found this spring. There's a spring that goes like this. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna stick it in here first. And the end of that thing has to go in that little tit hole down inside there, okay? Whatever you do, don't take that coolant line apart from right here, because there's a thermo valve in there and a spring. It goes to the trans cooler. So, all right, now you can put the breather tube on. Goes to the top of the valve cover to the intake. And now we can put the battery box in. Remember, it weasels back underneath around here. And you gotta put the screws in for that, the bolts. If you're wondering about that nipple, if you look down inside of it, it's full of dirt. I don't think it goes to anything, and I don't remember taking anything off of it. Next, put the battery in. Hook your cables up. Hook up your, put your panel in on the side. Remember, it clips in on the sides. And then put your hold down in there and tighten it up. All right, put your lower air cleaner box in there. There's a tube, stick it down inside that circle. It goes inside the fender. The fits into the grommets, and you got a bolt right here to tighten up. And you can put your upper air filter housing in with your air cleaner. And then you put your little snorkel on with the two little screws for that. Put your air cleaner in, your upper cover. Don't forget your big clamp there. Plug in your mass airflow sensor. Tighten up all your little screws. And on this was open, so don't worry about that. Put your engine cover back on. And battery's connected. Get some coolant in it. You can start it up. Let it run. See how it goes. If it goes good, double check for coolant leaks. Double check for trans fluid leaks. Other than that, if I helped you do the water pump on this vehicle, that's great. If I helped you do the transmission rear main seal on this vehicle, that's great. Hopefully you can help me by subscribing to me. I have headlight bulbs to do, turn signal bulbs to do. That's why I didn't fully tighten it, because they gave me the wrong bulbs. Well, I thank you very much. Okay, bye.